At a number 10 spot, we have the Yeti. In a recent discovery that has sparked a flurry of excitement among Twitter users, the footprints of a Yeti were found by Indian Army mountaineers near the Makulu base camp in Nepal. The footprints, which measured a staggering 32 inches, were photographed and then posted on Twitter, prompting people to speculate whether the expedition team was actually serious about their findings or they're conducting a trolling experiment on their followers. For those unfamiliar with the Yeti, it is the mysterious cousin of the Bigfoot, both part of the same extremely elusive family. The legend of hairy, oversized hominids lurking at the outer reaches of civilization has been around for centuries and is part of the folklore of several cultures. But could these footprints really be from the Yeti? And if Yetis are real, how could they have existed for so long without one clear HD photo? According to Daniel C. Taylor, author of Yeti, The Ecology of a Mystery, the footprints were most likely created by a bear and its cub, rather than a dinosaur-sized or mythical half-human creature. While the footprints in the photos appeared to lead into bushes, Mr. Taylor noted that he would expect to find a clear set of prints where the trail leads to. But this doesn't mean there's no Yeti. Mr. Taylor even listed 3 types of Yetis in his book. The first Yeti is the legend, much like Santa Claus. The second Yeti is the Yeti that lives inside of people, fueled by their need to be closer to nature. And the third and final Yeti is the one that actually made the footprints, the mama and her cub. At our number 9 spot, we have the Beer Hospital. Beer Hospital in Nepal has been providing free medical services to the abandoned, helpless, and poor patients. However, the hospital has been failing to ensure the safety and comfort of these patients. Patients like Bikash Thurisha, who is diagnosed with tuberculosis, and June Maya Bajul, who is diagnosed with breast infection, has been receiving free medical service at this hospital, but they have not been provided with proper rooms and beds. The hospital has allocated 26 beds for abandoned patients in the emergency ward, which is not sufficient for the number of patients being brought in daily by the police. Due to the lack of beds and human resources, the quality of treatment has been deteriorating rapidly, resulting in more than 50% of such patients succumbing to their diseases. And you know what that means? Some supernatural activity as well. On top of that, there are rumors that a notorious satanic cult operates inside of the hospital, in which they conduct dark rituals and human sacrifices in the basement. Visitors to the property constantly report different sorts of paranormal activity, and they mention apparitions, disembodied voices, and strange mists that seem to appear from nowhere. Number 8, Sundarjal Bang. Also considered the river that needs human sacrifice, this waterfall is probably not the best place to visit in Nepal. Sundarjal, a region located near the bustling city of Kathmandu, is known for its large river that provides drinking water to the city's inhabitants. However, despite its importance, the locals believe that the river is haunted and they refuse to go anywhere near it. The river flows through a lush jungle which is rumored to be home to many tormented spirits. According to the legend, the river has a thirst for human lives and takes the lives of those who come near it. Every year there are incidents where tourists and locals fall into the water and completely vanish. Some people believe that the spirits of those who died in the river still roam along the riversides. However, it's unclear whether these stories are true or they're just simply a developed folklore and people are just tripping over here. At our number 7 spot, we have Devghat. Devghat is a religious Hindu site located in Chitwan, also known as Aryaghat. However, a chilling incident on July 12, 2009 shook the town when the skull of a female was recovered from the region. And it was just the beginning, as the police began to recover numerous bones and skulls from the area after that. The situation got even stranger when locals started witnessing 4 old women visiting the spot every night to perform a dance ritual. The women would set fire to themselves at midnight while performing, making it an eerie sight to behold. However, the discovery of human bones in this area is not new to locals, as Devghat is known as the land of cremation, and it is also considered a ceremonial site for black magic believers. In the past, skulls of various people were also reportedly removed from the spots, and nevertheless, the identity of these 4 old women still remains a mystery. Locals claim to see these 4 to 5 women apparitions approaching the river by night, and they appear to be dancing, but they're floating above the ground. But the most crazy thing about this is that they do this dance while completely engulfed in flames. Number 6, the Bokshi. Nepal legend says that witchcraft is widely practiced in remote areas of Nepal, except at this time, their witch description was far from accurate. Basically, any woman who had something bad to say or raised her voice at the patriarchy would be considered a witch or a bokshi. The problem with the term bokshi is that it has become so extreme that women are being murdered in the name of this specific ritual and are forced to become a ghost, where they will be lost and seen roaming around the streets looking for answers. Even to this day, people are getting accused of being witches. Am I being confused, or am I still living in the Salem witch trials still? Because why are people still believing in this stuff? In the hub for our list, we have the Ranabon. Many people know Ranabon for their breathtaking views and incredible sceneries, but inside of this nature escape is hidden something very dark. Within the jungle of Ranabon village, there is a gigantic tree looking straight out of a cartoon with its widespread and exposing roots. Except, take away the beauty from this tree and you might understand why locals avoid this specific tree altogether. Warning, the story is pretty explicit. Legend goes that several years ago, a man assaulted and murdered a girl right underneath this tree, and after some research, this turned out to be a true story and has a lot more disturbing details I can't even mention. However, after her death, people in the area started to hear noticeable crying coming from under the tree, but when they went to investigate, nothing was there. And to make this even more spookier, just days after, the man who murdered the girl was executed by hanging on the very same tree. So best believe there's more than one ghost sitting under this tree, and you should just probably avoid sitting here altogether. Number 4, Dao Hill. Located in northeastern region of Nepal, lies a forest that will make you feel scared and uncomfortable the entire hike. The forest known as Dao Hill is considered one of the most haunted spots in Nepal, and for good reason. Visitors to the forest have reported feeling a sense of being watched, almost as if eyes are following their every move. Some even claim to have catch glimpses of strange movements in their periphery, only to turn and find nothing there. However, the occurrences don't stop there. There has been reports of a screaming woman in the woods, and several visitors have claimed to see red eyes peeking at them from the trees above. But perhaps the most famous ghost sighting in Dao Hill is that of a headless boy who has been seen wandering through the forest and down a street known as Death Road. What a lovely name. Even the high school situated beside the woods is believed to be haunted as well. Many visitors claim to hear loud whispers coming from inside the lockers and footsteps during the closed months. So best believe not only the woods are haunted, but this whole entire area. Number 3, the ghost of Mount Everest. Being the tallest mountain in the entire world, people are bound to come in the thousands to conquer the challenge. However, with a fatality rate at 14%, many climbers have not been able to finish their trip, and their bodies still lay on this mountain due to a lot of safety issues in recovering them. So best believe after seeing these bodies and hearing the horrific stories, some ghost stories in Everest are bound to pop up. On your journey to the top, chances are you'll come across the 3,000 corpses that lie on the mountain to this day. One is a man only known as Green Boots, but his real name was Swang Paljor. Many climbers claim to see the apparition of a climber with green boots, encouraging them to push through it. Being at such an extreme height, many mountaineers suffer from altitude sickness and causes many to see vivid hallucinations, so this really isn't a surprise. But it's not hard to believe that there may be some ghosts lurking on this mountain still to this day. Number 2, the Royal Palace of Nepal. On June 1st, 2001, one of the worst royal massacres occurred at the Royal Palace in Nepal, including King Birendra and Queen Aishwarya. The culprit turned out to be the son and crown prince Dipendra, who was said to have opened fire on the palace grounds when a party was happening. He shot his own dad, mother, and his own siblings. He was appointed king, but only for a temporary time, as he was in a coma since the attack due to shooting himself. Shortly after this massacre, locals around the palace began to report sounds of screaming, shouting, and the most notorious sound that they could document was the sound of gunshots. They claimed that it was the gunshots from the massacre, and its haunting sounds are still trapped in this palace to this day. Number 1, the water tank of Dapashi. Located in Dapashi, Basundara, lies this innocently looking underground tank to store water around the community. Although this is necessary for any community and serves a benefit, many locals are actually too afraid to go anywhere near it. Of course, this doesn't mean they couldn't get water due to their fear. Instead, they would probably ask someone else to get it. But what could stop people from getting a basic necessity like water? Well, it all started with the sounds of crying, shouting, and other strange noises coming from inside of the tank. And it was said the sounds grew even louder by the nighttime. This is also the time where locals claim that they also see a spirit of a decomposing man standing nearby the tank. The legend says that a group of robbers mugged a man near the water tank, and instead of a quick theft, one of the men accidentally killed the man, or so they thought. Then they decided to put the man's body in this tank, but once they locked it, they could hear the man alive struggling for his life. Soon after, the man would pass and the robbers would eventually get caught. But just imagine that your drinking water used to have a decomposing body inside of it. Doesn't this remind anyone of Cecil Hotel? Anyone? Number 10, the Red Lady of Huntingdon College. The Red Lady of Huntingdon College is a legendary ghost that is sent to haunt the former Pratt Hall dormitory at the Huntingdon College in Montgomery, Alabama. According to Wyndham and historian Daniel Barefoot, there have actually been two ghosts referred to as the Red Lady. The first Red Lady was described as a woman in a scarlet dress and parasol, who walked wordlessly in the halls of the women's dormitory, bathed in a red glow, due to her father's will specifying she attends her mother's alma mater. Martha was shy and unhappy and struggled to make friends at the college, leading her to become increasingly aloof and bitter. Despite the efforts of the dormitory president to befriend her, Martha remained isolated, often wandering into the rooms of other students and casting a chill upon groups. Her behavior grew increasingly strange as she would visit dormitories during the darkest hours of the night, never speaking but only staring into space as if in a trance. One evening after Martha had not been seen for the day, her former roommate found her dead in her room. It is believed that she had taken her own life, but rumors circulated that her ghost continued to haunt Pratt Hall. Students reported seeing her walking up and down the halls, opening and closing doors, and staring into space. The Red Lady's ghostly encounters continued for many years, and now she's become a well-known legend at the college and the entire state. Number 9. Deceased Children's Playground. The Deceased Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama is a pretty intimidating name for a seemingly innocent-looking playground. According to local lore, many children who died during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic in Huntsville were buried in Maple Hill Cemetery, which adjoins the playground. Some people believe that the spirits of these children come out to play in the playground after dark, which has led many to report of unexplained movements and ghostly sightings in the area. For those who don't know, the Spanish flu pandemic was a global disaster, killing an estimated 50 million people worldwide, including many in Huntsville, where the deceased arrived on September 25, 1918. Within the 10 days, it had spread to the general population, and hospitals were filled with patients, leading to doctors working long shifts to try to ease their suffering. As a result, many families were quarantined in their homes, and to prevent the spread of the disease, parents told children to keep the windows closed. This resulted in the rhyme, "I had a bird, its name was Enza, I opened the window and influenza." Although there is no official count of the number of children who passed away in Huntsville during the pandemic or how many people were buried in Maple Hill, it is likely that hundreds perished, leading to this park being extremely haunted. Number 8. Hell's Gate Bridge. Hell's Gate Bridge in Oxford, Alabama is considered to be the most haunted bridge in the state. The bridge's name was inspired by the legend of a young couple whose car drove off the bridge and into the waters below in the 1950s. According to the legend, if you stop on the bridge and turn off your lights, a member of the couple will enter your car and leave a wet spot on the seats. This eerie story is why the bridge is considered to be very haunted. But it is not just a couple that haunts Hell's Gates Bridge. It is also said that if you stop on the bridge and look over your shoulder, the road behind you will resemble the fiery gates of hell. This frightening tale has led many visitors to the bridge seeking to experience the supernatural for themselves. Although the Oxford Paranormal Society conducted an investigation in 2007 and found no evidence of paranormal activity, there are still many locals who claim to have had a ghostly encounter at this bridge. Despite the bridge's reputation, local officials have closed it off to any sort of vehicles due to safety concerns, but visitors are able to still walk across it if they dare. While the old bridge is falling apart, it is an unforgettable experience to walk on it, even in the daylight. Whether or not the stories behind the haunted bridge in Alabama are true, the legend of Hell's Gate Bridge continues to live on and attract visitors from far and wide. If you are brave enough to walk across this historic bridge, you will be forever changed. Number 7. The Sloss Furnaces. Birmingham, Alabama was founded in 1871 with the aim of becoming a major center for America's industrial age, taking advantage of its rich deposits of iron ore, coal, and limestone. The city was nicknamed the Magic City, and one of its key attractions was the Sloss Furnaces, built by James Wither Sloss in 1881. The furnaces were dangerous and men worked 12-hour days facing danger at every single turn. Many workers died from accidents, including falling into molten steel or suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. There's even a story of a worker who was dragged into gears during his lunch break. The furnaces were known for paranormal activity as well, with reports of screams, apparitions, and the presence of slag, which is a cruel foreman. On September 9, 1887, worker Richard Jowers fell into molten steel and was incinerated. It is rumored that his bones were removed, but his remains were lost completely. Today, Sloss Furnaces is a national landmark and still echoes with the sounds of his perilous past. It is possible that the workers who lost their lives at these furnaces still haunt the grounds, reminding the city of their sacrifice. Number 6. The Downey Booger. The legend of the Downey Booger dates back to the late 1800s in Winston County, Alabama. Known for its rugged men, whiskey, and Saturday night dances, Winston County was also infamous for the strange creature that had been sighted by John and Joe Downey while they were returning home from a dance. The creature, which had both human and animal-like features, had frightened the cousins' horses and caused them to run in the opposite direction. Later, a family returning from a church service and Jim Jackson, who was transporting moonshine to a mining town, also reported encounters with this creature. Jim Jackson fired twice at this creature, causing it to scream like a woman and limp on 3 feet. A posse formed to find this creature, but all they found were traces of blood leading from the sand bed to a distant cliff. The true identity of this creature still remains a mystery to this day, and its strange appearance and haunting screams continues to be retold among the residents of Winston County. In the hump of our list, we have the Alabama White Thing. The mystery of the Alabama White Thing has been the subject of much speculation and storytelling for nearly a century. Originating in the Triangle region between Morgan, Etowah, and Jefferson counties, this creature is described as being over 7 feet tall and covered in long white hair. It is known for its lightning fast speed and eerie screech that sounds like a woman's scream or a panther's roar. There has been numerous sightings of the White Thing in Happy Hollow, Walnut Grove, and Moody's Chapel. Some people believe it could be an albino Bigfoot or a large albino bear. Peter J. Gossett, a historian of Winston County, heard the story of the White Thing from his aunt, Fenata Martin Smith. She told him of a man named George Norris who had a close encounter with the creature in Enon Graveyard. According to Smith, Norris described the White Thing as having the appearance of a lion with a bushy, slick tail. He said it was looking at him when he woke up one morning to find it laying next to him, but it didn't seem to pose a threat. Number 4, the Drish House. The Drish House in Tuscaloosa, Alabama has a rich history that dates back to 1837. Built by Dr. John R. Drish, a physician and prominent home builder in the area, the 2-story Greek Revival style home was once part of a 450-acre plantation. Drish employed slave artisans for his plasterwork projects, and his success in the field led him to marrying a wealthy widow named Sarah Owen McKinney. But the Drish House is not just known for its rich history, but also for its notorious reputation as being one of the most haunted sites in Tuscaloosa. The spirits of the original occupants are said to still haunt the house, including Dr. Drish, Sarah Drish, and Catherine, which is the daughter of the Drish family. In 1969, author Catherine Tucker Wyndham published a book about 13 ghost stories in Alabama. And the second chapter, called Death Lights in the Tower, tells the story of a mysterious phantom fire that occurred on the Drish House Tower after the passing of Sarah Drish. Number 3, the Bear Creek Swamp. Bear Creek Swamp, located in Autauga County between Prattville and Autaugaville, has been a source of ghost stories for many years. A woman who is said to be searching for her missing child is said to roam the swamp at all hours, with some claiming that the baby drowned there and others saying that the children was kidnapped by indigenous people. According to the legend, if someone visits the swamp at midnight and chants, "I have your baby," 3 times, the woman will appear, kind of like Bloody Mary. Many people have reported sightings of apparitions that resemble indigenous people and early settlers, as well as phantom lights and cackling laughter in the area. The legend of Bear Creek Swamp becomes more intriguing in November 2014 when the Autauga County Sheriff's Office recovered 21 dolls that had been mysteriously stuck into the marshland. Although the Sheriff's Office never determined who placed the dolls there, officials just believed it to be a Halloween prank. But was it really? Number 2, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. This experiment was designed to observe the effects of syphilis when untreated. It was conducted in 1932 by the U.S. Public Health Service with 600 African Americans recruited from Alabama. The men consisted of 399 with latent syphilis and 201 as a control group with no syphilis. They agreed to the study because they were promised free healthcare, which they never got, and were originally told that they were being treated for bad blood. These men were given only placebos such as aspirin and mineral supplements, rather than being treated with penicillin, which was the recommended treatment at the time. Many participants of the study died, went blind, or got driven to insanity, while others suffered other severe health complications due to the untreated syphilis. The story ended up arising back in 1972, and by that time, 28 more participants perished. 100 had passed away from related issues, 40 spouses were diagnosed with it, and the disease got even passed down to 19 of their children. Despite an apology from President Clinton in 1997, the damages had already been done. Number 1, Hugging Molly. The small town of Abbeville in Alabama is known for many things, but one of its most famous legends is that of Hugging Molly. According to the local folklore, Hugging Molly is a tall figure dressed in all black, including a wide-brimmed hat, who wanders the street of Abbeville at night looking for children to hug. Although the origin of the legend is unclear, there are several different theories as to who or what Hugging Molly really is. One theory is that Hugging Molly was a woman who lost her own child and as a result goes after the local children to make up for it. Another theory suggests that Hugging Molly was a professor at the Alabama Agricultural School and her intention was to keep the students safe by getting them off the streets at night. There's also others who believe that Hugging Molly was murdered in cold blood on the very streets she now haunts and is trying to fulfill something. Despite the frightening appearance of this haunting Molly, there has never been any reports of harm caused by her. In fact, she's almost a part of the community and town history, with local residents even being named after her. With so many different interpretations, it is really difficult to determine the truth behind the story of her. But one thing is for sure, on a cold, dark, and rainy night, Hugging Molly still roams the street of Aveville, seeking out children to hug. At our number 10 spot, we have the Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom of the Opera is a well-known legend that is closely linked to the history of the Opera Garnier in Paris. This legend originated from a fire that occurred in the Salle Pelletier, the predecessor of the Opera Garnier, in 1873. A pianist named Ernest was horribly disfigured in the fire and lost his companion as a result. Overcome with grief, he chose to isolate himself from the world and even took refuge in the basement of this place, which was still under construction at the time. Ernest spent the remainder of his life in the shadows of this building and only ate fish from the underground lake of the opera. His sorrowful cries could be heard in the background of performances, as many guests would report. After his disappearance, strange events started to occur in the Opera Garnier. For example, a machinist was found hanged, but when they did investigation, there was no rope to be found. And also, a chandelier fell during one performance, killing a spectator seated in the seat number 13. All these mysterious occurrences were attributed to the Phantom of the Opera, who is believed to still haunt the halls of the famous theater. These mysteries have captured the imaginations of many writers, including Gaston Leroux. He wrote the novel The Phantom of the Opera in 1910, which was a worldwide success and largely based on this legend. Even today, the legend continues to live on as Lodge number 5 in Opera Garnier is permanently rented by a mysterious stranger. This lodge is strategically located within the theater, allowing its occupant to see the performances but remain unseen. At our number 9 spot, we have the Beast of Gévaudan. The Beast of Gévaudan remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious legends in French history. The terror caused by this man-eating beast or beast lasted for 3 years, from 1764 all the way to 1767. The attacks took place in the Margeride Mountains of south central France and spanned over an area of 90 by 80 kilometers. Eyewitnesses reported that the beast was formidable with sharp teeth and an immense tail. The descriptions of the animal also varied widely, with some saying it was a striped hyena, while others claimed it was like a large wolf, dog, or even a wolf-dog hybrid. Regardless of its actual appearance, the Beast of Gévaudan was known for its brutal methods of attack, which often involved tearing out the throats of its victims. The Kingdom of France took threat to this beast very seriously and even devoted a significant amount of manpower and wealth to hunting this animal down. The resources of several nobles, soldiers, and royal huntsmen, and even civilians were used in the pursuit of this beast. But despite their efforts, the attacks persisted and the number of victims continued to rise. The exact number of victims is not known, but estimates suggest that the beast killed and injured hundreds of people. Although the beast was reported killed several times, the attacks did not stop until 1767. To this day, the identity of the Beast of Gévaudan remains a mystery, and its legends continue to captivate people's imaginations and if there was really a man-eating beast in France during this time. At our number 8 spot, we have the father of cinematography. Louis Le Prince is a name that should ring a bell to all those into cinema, as he is widely regarded as the true father of cinematography. However, despite his monumental contribution to the world of motion pictures, his name is often overshadowed by figures like Thomas Edison and the Lumiere brothers. The reason for this is that Le Prince disappeared before he could showcase his groundbreaking invention to the world. In 1888, Le Prince shot the first film in history in Leeds, England. However, instead of rushing to show the world what he created, he chose to be patient and refine his invention. After 2 years of careful tweaking, he was finally ready to present his work to the public. Then in September 1890, he boarded a train to Paris with all the materials and patents he needed for the showcase. But unfortunately, he never made it to the French capital. His friends were waiting in Paris to pick him up, but they found no trace of him. This mystery sparked many rumors and theories about what could have happened to Le Prince. Some people said that his brother Albert killed him over their inheritance, while others believed that he drowned himself or just decided to fled to start a new life. But the most tantalizing theory was that Thomas Edison himself was behind Le Prince's disappearance, as he wanted to ensure his monopoly over the invention of cinema. Despite the many theories surrounding his disappearance, one thing is for certain: Louis Le Prince left a lasting impact on the world of motion pictures and will forever be known, at least for me, as a visionary inventor. All the way at our number 7 spot, we have the murdered monks. The Abbaye de Mortemer is a 12th century monastery located in Normandy, France, and it is considered by many to be one of the most haunted places in the country as well. The story of Mortemer Abbey begins with the Cistercian monks who built the monastery on marshy land that was referred to as the Dead Pond, a name that would eventually become the moniker for the abbey itself. Despite the monastery's size and grandeur, it was often plagued by financial difficulties, which ultimately led to its downfall. By the time of the French Revolution, the abbey was in a state of disrepair, but a small community of monks still lived within its walls. However, their presence was not enough to save them from the wrath of the revolutionaries, who decided to storm the abbey in 1790, killing 4 monks who lived there and leaving a scene of blood and chaos behind. Since then, the abbey has been the site of numerous ghostly sightings, with rumors of ghostly monks haunting the ruins. Fortunately, there has even been accounts of a benevolent ghost there, dressed in the robes of a monk, appearing during World War II and even saving an English paratrooper from an enemy attack. And if you decide to visit, there's a higher chance you'll probably encounter one of the more angered spirits of the 4 murdered monks, but let's just hope you encounter this one. Number 6, the Mont Saint-Michel. The Mont Saint-Michel, a settlement located on the border of Brittany and Normandy, is a place of both beauty and terror. This majestic fortress built on an island is surrounded by the sea, which makes it a popular tourist destination, but this fairy tale-like location still has a dark and haunting side to it. According to the legend, the island was discovered when Saint Albert received a dream from Archangel Michael, directing him to build a monastery there. Despite initially disregarding the vision, the Archangel burned a hole in the bishop's head to reinforce the message, and the monastery was built. The island has been a place of worship and pilgrimage for centuries and has been the subject of many myths and ghost stories over the years as well. The island is known for their Battle of Mont Saint-Michel, one of the bloodiest days in French history. It is said that the wails of English soldiers who lost their lives during the war can still be heard on calm days with low tides. Many people believe that the souls of these soldiers are unable to rest and continue to haunt the island, never moving to the afterlife. Before the French Revolution, the island was inhabited by monks and other pious people who decided to bury their dead in the walls of the church. When the revolution reached Mont Saint-Michel, the monks were forced to abandon the island, and the abbey was then turned into a prison. Some say that the ghosts of the dead monks who were disturbed by the desecration of their once sacred location still roam the island as well. And the hump of our list, we have the Jack and Jill nursery rhyme. As you already know, nursery rhymes' origins aren't as charming as their true story. One of these is the Jack and Jill nursery rhyme. It has 2 popular interpretations. One is tied to the French Revolution, and the other one is tied to King Charles I of England. In the first interpretation, Jack represents King Louis XVI of France, and Jill represents Queen Mary Antoinette. The rhyme tells the story of their execution during the Reign of Terror in 1793. But in the second interpretation, the rhyme revolves around King Charles I's attempt to increase taxes on liquid measures. The standard volume of Jack was reduced and the tax remained the same. A gill, which was twice the volume of a Jack, was also reduced as a result. The volume mark on the standard Jack measure was indicated with a crown, and the reduction of the volume caused the crown mark to fall, leading to the lyrics, Jack fell down and broke his crown.
Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after.
Number 4, the worst barber ever. Travel back in time to medieval Paris and the Ile de la Cite, when a barber was known to frequently receive foreign students who were housed by neighboring cantons. Unfortunately, some of these young students would then vanish without a trace. In those days of widespread poverty and frequent attacks, it was believed that these students were victims of a violent crime, and with no family left in Paris to inquire about their disappearance, their fate was left to speculation. However, one day, an unusual incident changed the course of events. A dog was barking loudly in front of a barber's door for several days, and its master, a German student, had not returned from his appointment. The police were then called in to investigate and made a shocking discovery. The barber was cutting the throats of his young clients, then disposing of their bodies through a trap door in the cellar of the pastry chef next door. It was said that the pastry chef used the bodies to make some of the best pies in all of Paris. The barber and pastry chef paid the price for their crimes, and they were burned alive in a public square. Their houses were razed to the ground, and today the former site of the bakery is used as a garage for the Paris police. Number 3, the haunted lighthouse at Tevennec. Despite its picturesque location on the coast, the Tevennec lighthouse was notorious for the tales of madness and death that surrounded the 23 lighthouse operators who lived and worked there before it was automated in 1910. The area around the lighthouse has a rich maritime history and was known for their frequent shipwrecks that occurred there, including the crash of the French ship Sedusant during the Napoleonic Wars. which led to the death of hundreds of sailors. According to local legends, the area is also haunted by the spirits of the Celtic seafarers and warriors, who has been said to haunt the lighthouse since its inception. The tales of madness that befell the lighthouse operators are particularly eerie. The first operator, Henry Guzenik, was reportedly driven to madness by ghostly voices that spoke to him in the Breton language and told him to leave the lighthouse every single day. One of these successors are said to have had similar experiences, leading the French government to make Tevennec a two-man lighthouse and even recruited married couples to work there. However, few couples were willing to live and work at this lighthouse, for obvious reasons, and those that did suffered untimely and tragic deaths, including a family with 3 children and a cow.
Well, it's not relevant, is it?
The story surrounding the Tevennec Lighthouse is filled with the tales of failed exorcisms, crucifixes installed to ward off evil spirits, and even a violent storm that arrived just as one of the operators were giving birth inside of the lighthouse. So definitely one of the places in France that you don't want to visit. Number 2, the encounter of Marius de Wilde. The French commune of Quaraubo made headlines in September 10, 1954, when a local railway worker named Marius de Wilde claimed to have been visited by extraterrestrials. According to the reports, de Wilde claimed that a cigar-shaped UFO landed near his garden, and 2 small creatures in spacesuits resembling dive costumes emerged. The UFO shot a beam of light that paralyzed de Wilde, and by the time he was recovered, the aliens are already getting ready to leave. Despite an investigation by the authorities that found unusual marks on the railway tracks, there was no concrete evidence of an alien encounter. The stories of de Wilde's experience with the extraterrestrials quickly was widespread and reached the wine-producing village of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, located hundreds of miles from Quaraubo. The local mayor and town council were keen to protect their citizens and vineyards from potential alien invaders, and as a result, they passed a municipal decree that banned all UFOs from landing, taking off, or flying over the community. Which is definitely strange, but I guess the UFOs listened, because ever since they made this decree, they haven't seen one since. Number 1, the ghost of Pont-Marie. The city of love is also the city of spine-chilling ghost stories, one of which stems from the era of France during World War II. This period saw the division of France into 2 parts, one directly occupied by the Germans and the other being a puppet state by them. However, amidst the hardship and turmoil, a brave woman rose to the occasion and joined the French resistance. This Parisian lady was married to a resistance fighter and was tasked with collecting information from an SS officer, with whom she started an affair. One fateful winter night, she was scheduled to meet her husband on Pont-Marie Bridge, which spans across the River Seine, but he ended up never arriving. Understanding that something was amiss, the woman wept, waiting through the nights until she eventually froze to death. Ever since, reports have surfaced of her ghost appearing on cold nights on this bridge, still crying and waiting for her husband to show up. At number 10 spot, we have the Taunton State Hospital. The Taunton State Hospital is a notorious psychiatric hospital located in Taunton, Massachusetts. The hospital opened its doors in 1854, and over the years, it bore witness to hundreds of psychiatric patients, including a couple of notorious serial killers, and unfortunately, many of these people would lose their lives in this hospital. Sadly, innocent people such as veterans, those with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Tourette's, and even women experiencing anxiety, depression, and fatigue were admitted to this hospital, and conditions were far from good for treating them. The hospital used pseudosciences like phrenology to cure patients, but that was the lightest thing done here. They also use solitary confinement, electroshock therapy, and lobotomies as common practices. Today, Taunton State Hospital and its surrounding grounds are on the Registry of Historic Places, and even though most of the historic buildings have been demolished or destroyed by a fire, there are rumors that a notorious satanic cult operated the hospital and even conducted dark rituals and even human sacrifices in the basement of the place. The hospital is considered to be one of the most haunted asylums in America, with strange and unexplained markings on the walls of the basements, and with ghostly screams, cries for help, and sobbing being commonly reported on the hospital grounds and even the surrounding woods. The entire campus is deemed haunted and is referred to as the most haunted asylum. At our number 9 spot, we have the Severals Hospital. The Severals Hospital in Colchester, Essex, England has nothing special about it other than a history of pure tragedy. Built in 1913, the hospital was designed by architects Frank Whitmore and William Town, and was initially opened as a second Essex County asylum. However, this beautiful building soon witnessed the horrors of war when it was bombed by the Luftwaffe in 1942, resulting in the deaths of 38 patients. Then in the 1950s, psychiatrists carried out inhumane experiments on the patients that were at the hospital. These were often done on people who were mainly healthy, they were admitted by their own families or friends for non-medical reasons. Electroconvulsive therapy and frontal lobotomies were carried out here as well, and women were subjected to these treatments simply because they're unable to carry out daily tasks, resulting in them being considered insane. Then in the early 1980s, the hospital went into a state of decline and was eventually closed in 1997. Despite plans to redevelop the area into residential homes, most people are so hesitant to live in a place where so much tragedy has occurred, and I can't blame them. The building has now fallen into a state of disrepair, with vines climbing its walls and an eerie feeling of abandonment. Urban explorers visiting the site have reported hearing the screams of a woman and encountering full-bodied apparitions and even brightly colored orbs. These hauntings serve as a reminder of the terror and trauma that took place here, reminding us that people who treated mental health back in the past didn't know what they were doing. All the way at our number 8 spot, we have the Danvers State Hospital. The Danvers State Hospital, also known as the Danvers State Lunatic Asylum, is a historically significant mental health institution located in rural Massachusetts, but it's also considered by many to be the most haunted hospital in the entire US. At its height, the hospital was overcrowded and used inhumane treatments such as shock therapy, lobotomies, and straitjackets to control its population. Then in 2007, a large fire destroyed much of the remaining building, leaving only the brick shell standing. The land that Danvers was built on also has a dark history to it, as it once was home to John Hathorne, the judge who presided over the Salem witch trials himself. But back to the hospital. It saw abuse, neglect, and trauma over its lifetime, which led to more overcrowding issues and more inhumane treatment of its patients. And this is probably the reason why every visitor comes out of this place with a ghostly story of their own. Visitors to the property report paranormal activity and mention apparitions, disembodied voices, and strange myths that seem to appear from nowhere. The 2 cemeteries on the property, filled with 770 bodies, are also hotbeds of ghostly activity, as you would already guess. Whether it's the day spirits of the lobotomy patients or something else entirely, the Danvers State Hospital is sure to send shivers down the spines of even the bravest of paranormal enthusiasts. On to number 7 spot, we have the Royal Hope Hospital. The Royal Hope Hospital in St. Augustine, Florida is one of the oldest hospitals in the state, with roots dating back to the late 1700s. So you know what that means? It was used during the Civil War as well. It was serving as a military hospital and treated thousands of wounded soldiers. The modern hospital was rebuilt on the same ground as the original structure, which some believe could explain the numerous ghostly encounters reported by guests and staff members over the years. One of the most notable haunted areas of the hospital is the mourning room, where family members would gather to remember their loved ones. This room is said to be filled with the hospital's priest tools for blessing the dead and is known for its ghostly voices, which can be heard praying, sobbing, and moaning. Another haunted area is the surgeon's office, where a spirit is said to grab onto visitors' clothes and refuse to let go. In the ward, beds are reported to move on their own and hit visitors, while the apothecary is known for its shadows darting from wall to wall and the sound of a sobbing spirit in the room. Other ghostly occurrences at the Royal Hope Hospital include full-blown apparitions, voice recordings from paranormal enthusiasts, moving objects, unexplained bruises, and orbs that follow visitors all around the hospital. There's also been reports of unexplained marching sounds down the hospital hallways, which may be residual from its time as a military hospital. Overall, the Royal Hospital is a prime example of how the intense emotions and suffering of the past can leave a lasting imprint on a location and contribute to its haunted reputation. So definitely go check this place out if you have nothing better to do. Number 6, the Sunland Hospital. The Sunland Mental Hospital was once a chain of hospitals all across Florida, which established in the 1950s to isolate and cure for patients with tuberculosis. But as tuberculosis became less of a public health issue, the state converted the facilities into mental health institutions, and this is when the hospitals went from good to bad. Among those hospitals, Sunland Hospital Orlando was especially notorious for its horrid conditions and maltreatment of its patients, which even escalated to outright physical abuse and torture. By the 1980s, the world knew about the horrible conditions, and Sunland Orlando was eventually closed and left to decay. The abandoned building quickly became a meta for ghost hunters, as visitors reported hearing screams and seeing shadows everywhere they went, many of which seemed to originate from children. Even in 1997, a man even plunged to his death in an elevator shaft while exploring the hospital with his friends, and many people believe that the ghost tempted him to do this in the first place. The main building was eventually demolished in 1999, but the administration building still stands to this day, attracting ghost hunters all around the world. The former site of the actual Sunland Hospital is now a children's playground, and nighttime visitors have reported seeing ghostly apparitions of children near the area and swings moving on their own, which is presumably by the children themselves. So just another unsettling reason not to visit Florida. In the hub for our list, we have the St. Thomas Psychiatric Hospital. The St. Thomas Psychiatric Hospital opened in 1939 and served over 1,700 patients. The institution was then abandoned in the summer of 2013, and a new mental health facility was developed soon after to replace it. In the time the facility was active, it housed a few notorious patients who committed violent deeds, including impaling, strangling, and torturing other patients or co-workers. People claim to hear random sounds, which include banging, crying, and even whispering, and seeing flickering lights and moving objects during their visits. Today there is heightened security at the site, but it may be possible to have a short wander across the grounds where the old hospital once stood during daylight hours. But I recommend not going there just in case, because this place looks pretty bad. All the way down at our number 4 spot, we have the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. The Trenton Psychiatric Hospital, originally named the New Jersey State Lunatic Asylum, has a long history of helping mentally ill patients and even harming them. The hospital opened in 1849 and welcomed 86 patients initially. The first superintendent, Horace Butolph, was a good man and provided excellent care for the people around him. Then it took a turn for the worse when Dr. Henry Cotton took over. The doctor believed he could cure mental illness by removing organs. He believed that infections caused mental illness, so he tested it by removing his patients' teeth, limbs, or any body part with slight signs of infection. This would cause dozens of patients to pass away, and many claim that you can still hear the screams of these patients inside of the walls of the hospital to this day. Others even claim to see the apparition of Dr. Cotton himself and other ghosts with missing limbs. Unfortunately, after his passing in 1933, a review found his medical procedures caused 45% of his patients to perish. The irony was, the doctor was clinically insane as well. Number 3, the Old Tuawa Hospital. The Old Tuawa Hospital in Utah was originally built as a private residence by Samuel F. Lee in 1873, but it was later converted into a poorhouse for the elderly in 1913. Then we fast forward to 1953 and the new Tuawa Hospital was constructed, and the original building was torn down. And this is when the haunting originated. The new hospital served as both a public hospital and an elderly care facility until it was converted into the popular tourist attraction Asylum 49. The new Tuawa Hospital was plagued by funding issues, with bodies of the deceased being stored in unrefrigerated rooms until the county coroner arrived to sign their death certificates. Asylum 49 is now a popular haunted attraction for many paranormal enthusiasts, with many reports of strange occurrences from visitors and employees, and one of the most commonly reported ghosts here is a patient named Wes, who suffered from Alzheimer's and died in a confused and scared state. Another ghost, Samuel F. Lee, the one who used to own the place, is said to roam the halls as well, telling visitors of his good deeds and seeking recognition for them. A nurse in white named Maria is also said to guard a spirit portal that directs the deceased to the afterlife. Number 2, the Clark Air Base Hospital. This is one of the few places deemed to be haunted not just in the Philippines, but in the whole world by Ghost Hunters International. Season 1, episode 20, named Unknown Soldiers, if you guys want to check out the episode. The hospital was used during World War II and the Vietnam War, so you already know this has all sorts of death and all sorts of tragedy. It served as an asylum to the wounded and dying American soldiers. This is why people around the world claim it is the most haunted place in the Philippines. It's said that the traumas and countless deaths from those conflicts have left their mark on the spirit's presence in the hospital. The place is currently abandoned, which gives it more of a supernatural look to it, but it's said that if you visit the hospital and sleep within 8 hours after the visit, you will experience extreme nightmares and intense lucid dreaming for a week, and some people don't even get out of this. Number 1, the Linda Vista Hospital. Here's a hospital on this list that's actually still open and operating. The Linda Vista Hospital, located in Los Angeles, California, is a medical center that has a long and storied history. Originally built as a Santa Fe Coastlines Hospital in 1905, the hospital was designed for the employees of the Santa Fe Railroad and was one of Los Angeles' oldest medical facilities. Over the years, the hospital saw a decline in funding and patients and eventually ceased all operations in 1991. In the years following its closure, the hospital gained a reputation for being extremely haunted. With stories of shadows walking around, nighttime cries, and disembodied humming, many people believe the hospital to be haunted by the spirits of its former patients and staff. There's also been allegations of patient abuse here that have never been fully investigated, and to this day, we'll never know, because all the past documents in this place have either been destroyed or have gone missing. Today, the former hospital is actually a senior living facility and is now not open to visitors for obvious reasons. But still, many ghost hunters still request, and some have been lucky to investigate this haunting place at night and have reported all sorts of activity.